Halifax Explosion, the largest man-made blast before nuclear weapons. Two ships collided in a harbour, at almost walking pace, barely a scrape. One of them was secretly carrying nearly 3,000 tons of high explosives. 20 minutes later, it detonated with a force that flattened an entire section of a Canadian city, killed nearly 2,000 people in seconds, and remained the largest man-made explosion in human history until the atomic bomb. On the morning of December 6, 1917, the Norwegian vessel SS Imo and the French cargo ship SS Mont-Blanc collided in the narrow strait connecting Halifax Harbour to Bedford Basin in Nova Scotia, Canada. A genuinely low-speed, seemingly minor collision that, under almost any other circumstances, would have represented a routine maritime accident resulting in modest hull damage and paperwork rather than one of history's most devastating urban disasters. What made this specific collision genuinely catastrophically significant was the Mont-Blanc's actual cargo, since the ship, though flying no warning flags or displaying any external indication of its contents, given wartime security protocols during the First World War, was loaded with an extraordinarily dangerous combination of high explosives, including picric acid, TNT, and gun cotton, along with a deck cargo of highly flammable benzol fuel stored in drums. A genuinely volatile combined cargo being transported specifically to support the ongoing Allied war effort in Europe, meaning the ship, despite its outwardly unremarkable civilian appearance, was effectively a massive floating bomb making its way through a busy, densely populated civilian harbour. The collision itself ignited the benzol fuel stored on the Mont-Blanc's deck, and as fire began spreading across the ship, her crew, recognizing the genuine, catastrophic danger their cargo actually represented, made the calculated decision to immediately abandon ship rather than attempt any firefighting effort, rowing to shore as quickly as possible. Though critically, they made no effective attempt to warn the surrounding harbour community of the specific, extraordinary danger the burning vessel actually posed, since the ship's genuinely lethal cargo remained formally classified wartime information even in this immediate emergency. The burning, drifting Mont-Blanc, rather than immediately exploding, instead drifted toward one of Halifax's harbour piers over the following roughly 20 minutes, a period during which the dramatic, visually striking spectacle of a burning ship in the harbour attracted considerable public attention and curiosity, with genuinely large numbers of Halifax residents entirely unaware of the specific catastrophic danger involved, gathering at windows on the waterfront and in nearby streets specifically to watch the unfolding spectacle, a fatal, tragic pattern of innocent curiosity that would prove genuinely devastating once the ship's actual cargo finally detonated. At approximately 9:04 a.m., the Mont-Blanc's cargo exploded in a blast of genuinely staggering, almost incomprehensible destructive power, generating a massive fireball, a shockwave that leveled buildings across a roughly 2.5 square kilometre area of Halifax closest to the harbour, and a tsunami-like wave that further devastated the immediate waterfront area, an explosion whose sheer destructive force modern analysis estimates at roughly the equivalent of 2.9 kilotons of TNT, established it as the largest man-made explosion in recorded human history up to that specific point, a record it would hold for nearly 3 decades until the considerably more destructive detonation of nuclear weapons during the Second World War's final months. The human cost proved genuinely catastrophic, with an estimated 1,782 people killed either immediately or in the explosion's direct aftermath, and approximately 9,000 additional people injured, many suffering severe, permanently disfiguring injuries specifically caused by flying glass, since the sheer number of Halifax residents who had gathered at windows to watch the burning ship meant a genuinely enormous number of people were struck directly by shattering glass at the exact moment the shockwave hit, a specific tragic detail that later contributed significantly to the eventual development of modern safety glass technology. given the explosion's role in demonstrating conventional window glasses' genuinely severe danger during blast events. The explosion's aftermath proved genuinely additionally devastating, since the blast triggered fires throughout the severely damaged residential areas closest to the harbour, complicating rescue efforts considerably, and was followed the very next day by a severe blizzard that dumped significant snowfall across the already devastated city, a genuinely cruel additional complication that severely hampered rescue and recovery efforts, precisely when survivors trapped in collapsed buildings and thousands of displaced injured residents needed sustained, urgent assistance most. The disaster's specific circumstances prompted significant, sustained formal investigation and legal proceedings regarding responsibility for the collision itself, with considerable, genuinely contentious legal debate over the following years regarding whether the Mont-Blanc or IMO bore primary responsibility for the initial navigational error that caused the collision, a legal question that, while formally significant to the specific parties involved, ultimately mattered considerably less to the disaster's broader historical significance than the catastrophic consequences that followed from combining a routine navigational error with an extraordinarily dangerous, effectively unmarked wartime cargo moving through a heavily populated civilian harbour. What made the disaster's broader historical significance particularly notable was the genuinely substantial, sustained American relief response that followed, with the nearby city of Boston specifically organizing significant emergency medical and material assistance that reached Halifax within remarkably short order given the era's transportation limitations, an act of sustained international goodwill that Halifax has formally commemorated ever since through an annual tradition of sending Boston a large Christmas tree specifically in gratitude for this historic emergency assistance, a tradition that has continued for over a century following the original disaster. What makes the Halifax explosion endure as one of history's most significant urban disasters isn't simply the staggering scale of its immediate destructive power, genuinely remarkable as that scale remains even by modern standards, but the specific, tragic combination of circumstances that transformed a routine, low-speed maritime collision into one of history's most devastating single explosive events, a wartime cargo classification that prevented effective warning, a genuinely fatal pattern of innocent public curiosity drawing thousands toward windows facing the coming blast, and a subsequent blizzard that compounded human suffering at the exact moment rescue efforts were most desperately needed. If stories like this, where an ordinary maritime accident became one of history's most devastating disasters, simply because of what one ship happened to be secretly carrying, are exactly what you come here for, subscribe to the grave details, because history holds more stories like this than most people will ever know.